Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Planet Coaster. And here we're looking at Gambit. And so this video has been a long time in the making because I started recording this last February. And life happened, things got busy, I lost interest in playing my games. And yeah, so I'm sorry it took so long to come back, but here I am, we're back, and today we're doing, we're focusing mostly on like the concrete and getting structurally everything sound in this whole front area, this whole front entrance of the ride, because there's a lot of concrete and there's a lot of path interactions here. And anyway, hi, I'm back. If you like what you see, please, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And I really needed to get back into uploading more and posting more. Currently, I'm in the process of looking for a new job, and there's a lot of things going on, so I'm trying to find time to work on this stuff as well. Plus, a totally badass game just dropped. I've been playing the crap out of that. I might do a series on it, I don't know yet, but that game is great. Hogwarts Legacy. That came out, I've been playing it non-stop. So that's why this video took so long to get out, because I finished editing and recording all this footage like 3 weeks ago or something, like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't remember, but that's when I finished recording all of this. And even this whole segment of videos was recorded over the last year. So it's just been sitting on my computer not being touched, and because also a big part of me didn't really know what to do for this whole section of the park, because I wanted to give Silver at least something to work with, and I don't remember a lot of what was going through my head when I did a lot of this, but there's a ton of footage that I cut out. Originally this was going to be 2 separate videos, each 25 minutes long. But I went through it and I cut out a lot of unnecessary stuff, because there's a lot of things that I built and I recorded myself building, but then I ended up deleting it and doing something else. So all of that footage, I just got rid of it. And even right here, what you're looking at on screen, there's a lot of footage I'm cutting out in between moving each piece to place it. So that way it just looks smoother like this, whereas it's not a lot of me stopping, going. So basically, whenever I would pull up the arrows, I would cut the clip, move it, and then cut it again at another spot, so it blends pretty seamlessly. So for example, this part, I kept it in, but I do end up changing this wall later on, because I don't like that landscape bit right there, because that's just how the terrain works in the game with pathing. So I end up redoing that, and I do a path overhang, so that way there's no terrain there. But I do all that later on. So another thing is, as well, with wooden coasters, a lot of them have escape routes. So if the train were to valley in a low part of the ride, there's stairs to get off of the ride, and then there's stairs on the concrete so you can walk out of the pit, or wherever you need to escape to. So here I'm just adding steps, 1 for evacuation and 2 for maintenance, so the maintenance workers can come in, do what they need, have access to the ride instead of having to climb throughout the entire structure. They can just go to a certain section of the ride, go through the gate, and they can just walk wherever they need to go from there. There was a lot of stuff here that I originally cut out as well. I'm sure I have a lot of stuff to talk about, but there's nothing really coming to mind, honestly. See, I cut out a lot of that too, because I ended up changing that again too. So here's another big section of the ride where it's supposed to be on a hillside, but I wanted this to be kind of a pit. So I raised the land behind this wall, and then I did more concrete work behind it as well. Yeah, so here I am starting this turn, and this is the turn that goes up near the station towards the lift hill of the ride. At first, I didn't really know how I wanted it to look, so there was a lot of things that I built and then deleted, and so I got rid of that footage. So this whole section just kind of it changed and evolved as I went with the build. I end up getting rid of this staircase later on. And I end up changing this again as well. I don't know why I kept it in, but I do end up getting rid of this and redoing this entire section of wall because, again, I want to get rid of the landscaping right there. I'm gonna I end up cutting out a lot of this footage as well because it's just a lot of the same stuff that I do all the way down the end of this path, so I end up cutting out a lot of it. Because honestly, who wants to sit here and just watch someone place the same piece over and over and over and over and over and over and over again? It gets kind of boring. But, you know, that's just what this is. It's gonna be a lot of boring stuff. And wherever you see benches, I'm also gonna like incorporate it into like a big concrete lip that, you know, it looks like the guests are sitting on like the concrete lip instead of it being a bench. I did that for a lot of spaces up in Penn Island so far, where it looks like guests are sitting on the concrete edge, but there's actually like a bench hidden in the concrete. It's too bad that I can't do it on these slope paths. Oh yeah, and I also forgot to mention there was a lot of footage cut out that I just didn't record before any of this. It was me trying to come up with the path layout for the queue, the entrance, the exit, the maintenance areas. All of that footage, like, I cut it out. I didn't even record it. It's like all these paths that you see, I planned all of this off camera. For example, this bridge meets ADA requirements. It's at the correct angle of incline for the length that it has to travel across. And all the ramps that we're going down the other way, those are also all ADA compliant. Here what I'm doing is I'm building a bridge. Basically it's the same bridge that I built for Penn Island. It's modified a little bit, but I'm using a lot of the same pieces. In fact, you might even see the copy of the Penn Island bridge in the background sometimes. But yeah, see, it's back there. Because I wanted this to just be, I mean, Silverette can retheme this bridge however he wants. The whole thing that I'm just trying to do with this episode is get all of the structural stuff put in. So like, you know, if he wants these concrete walls to be like rock walls, he can just, you know, slap rocks and stuff on them and make it look natural if he wanted to. This is just so he has something that he can work with when theming the ride. That way he doesn't have to come up with all of the structural stuff by himself. That's why I'm making this bridge just a typical glass bridge, and he can theme the edges and the outsides of this however he wants. And I might even keep that, so that station back there is just random shapes. That's kind of making a shape of a station structure back there. I may even just keep the shapes as they are, and he can just look at that, be like, oh, that's an interesting shape, or no, I want to change it, so let's move the shapes around. And a lot of us, as we build, we will use the big art shapes to try to map out the size of a structure and how we want it to look, how we want it to feel, before actually doing all the detail work and the framing and whatnot. Because me being the kind of person that I am, you know, I want to do architecture, even with just the shapes of the building being there, what I would then do is use the beams to make a frame of the building. If you remember my other GCI that I was doing, which was Gambit, but then it turned into something else, I would do the same thing that I was doing with that station building, where I was building the frame of the entire building, and then I was going to build all the walls on, like an actual building, how you would construct it. That's what I would do, because I would make all these buildings have interiors for the most part. In most cases. That's just what I like to do. So right there where the bridge ended, that was going to be the end of the first video. But then I cut out a lot of stuff. I ended up cutting out over half of the original footage. And then I'm like, oh, I have enough time to put the rest of this other one in. So then I started trimming down the second episode, and it ended up being like 10 more minutes. And I said, oh, okay, so let's just put these both in one video. And that's what I did. So I messed up down here. Some of these columns are not out far enough at the bottom of the turn. So I'm just gonna chop that up to, there was a contracting error with the concrete pour, and then GCI had to come back in and add more structure to the wood down there. So wherever the column supports are too close, I'm just gonna add more wood so it's more structurally stable. Oh yeah, so off camera right here, I realized that, wait, did I do that yet? Because this track is definitely too close to the bridge. Oh yeah, so I had already adjusted the track. So off camera, I did a clearance check, and then I had to lower the track. So I redid a lot of the track right here, and then I had to readjust all the ledgers and then all of the column supports, and now I'm having to refix the concrete. But I did all of that off camera. It's not important. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I cut out. You know, it's a lot of me moving footings, things like that. Just, you know, it's just a lot of unnecessary stuff, so I just cut a lot of it out. I always like it when I get footers that are going to touch each other, so then you have to redo the geometry to make it one concrete piece that these different ledgers are connecting to. If anybody from GCI is watching this, please let me know. Because I want this to look as accurate as possible, but I also don't know what year this would have been built. So that's why I'm doing a mix of different GCI stuff that I've seen for this one layout. Oh, yep. So here is where I redo that. I ended up getting rid of the stairs there because I had another access point to get up there anyway. And then because I also had a different idea in mind for right behind that wall. I'm going to do some planter boxes and whatnot. So right here, I'm trying to make all these look like one concrete pillar instead of different ones that are merged together, kind of weird. It's pretty chill though. I'm pretty chill right now. There was a lot more terrain stuff that I did, but I cut a big majority of it out. This music is really relaxing. So here was, I didn't have this idea until right before I started building this actually. So I decided to do this kind of like one big set of stairs going up along this hill. So the first thing I did was I adjusted the ledgers so that way they're basically almost sitting on the concrete footings. And then that would adjust how high up each of these inclined steps is going to be up to the top there. And this side I had to be careful and aware of that flat wall right there. It was really easy to do, you know. And then just make sure to adjust the height of some of your pieces so slightly so that way it doesn't cause Z fighting. I hate Z fighting. If I see it, I try and fix it. See it like that. I was trying to fix the Z fighting there. So I think it was... So I do this, but I end up changing this later and making it an even wider path because I end up deciding that I want this to be one of the evacuation routes for guests if the train gets stranded somehow. So I'll end up redoing this later on. Like, you never want to plan for your, you never want to hope that your ride, stops or something, or valleys, but you do need to at least plan and prepare for it. So that's what a lot of this is, just making sure that we have proper evacuation routes if guests have to get off the train for any reason. So a lot of this plain concrete space is actually going to end up having planter boxes put on it. I'm going to use the little concrete lip I did on the side. I'm going to do something similar to make little planter boxes on that. And right here is going to be like a little ramp to get down for, again, just for guest evacuation, or even if maintenance needs to access this section of the ride, they can just go in and unlock this gate and get in. I mean, the gate isn't built yet, but it will be built eventually. I'll take an episode to do all the path work and the fences and stuff, and just do the fences and whatnot. And again, I'll do it all plain theming. That way if Silverette wants to re-theme this a certain way, he can. And I ended up having to widen that path underneath the next section of ledgers because if you're walking under it, you were going to hit your head on the track. There's a lot of terrain stuff that I cut out, but here is where I'm widening this out so that way I can have a wider path in case if we need wheelchair access or something. We can get a wheelchair through this path right here. So this is what ride engineers and ride designers have to think of when they're designing an attraction, how are guests going to be able to get off the ride if something happens? If there's an emergency, what can we do? Things like that. So it's really good to plan for that stuff in a video game, because if you want to do this as a career, you already have at least some knowledge of, oh, we can do this here to make it easier for the guests to get off. Oh, but what if they have a wheelchair? Well, we need to add this to the side of the track, things like that. So it was that, and then also just making sure this whole front section looked structurally sound and made sense from an engineering standpoint. I'm sure there's a lot of mistakes I've made because I'm not an engineering student or anything. So there's a lot of this that I cut out as well, but I make the concrete just follow the shape of the land. And then because this is technically considered a retaining wall, I didn't build the whole thickness of the wall, but I at least added this angled bit in because part of the top of a retaining wall is going to have something similar to this, I believe, if it's made of concrete. And now I am working on the railings, and this is going to be one of the last things that we do in this episode. At first I was going to do wood railings. I had a different idea in mind for what this was going to look like, but in the end I settled with this style of railing because it just seemed to make more sense. It's typically a lot cheaper to install, so I just went with this kind, just stainless steel railing. I forget who made this because this was TMTK stuff. I forget who made it. But if you look for railings on TMTK Workshop or whatever it's called, you'll find it. But anyway, guys, I'm so sorry. Again, it's been such a long time since the last video. Here, I finally had this video up, and I've got another one coming out at some point soon, once I get back into recording again. So, again, I'm so sorry for such a long wait, and I have some cinematics for you at the end of the video, so sit back, enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.